nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, good morning.
I'll turn your mics on.
Approval of county board minutes.
Testing.
Approval of...
So moved, Mr. Chair.
All right, I got a
Second.
motion. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any deletions or additions?
Nope.
Need a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second?
Second.
I got a
Mike's got
motion
it.
and a second.
Sorry, Mike.
Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. This one we'll turn over to Ms. Gruber.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for going out in the cold and coming over here so we can say thank you more formally to those that have been working for the county for a variety of years and doing very difficult jobs in their unique ways. I always find it so interesting about how under one roof we do so many different things, and it just highlights, that's highlighted when we all sit here together and see the different goals that we all have, but yet we're all working for the same organization, and we all are, striving to do the best we can for those that serve or that live in Morrison County. And so thank you for your collective service and the individual roles that you play. So we'll take a few minutes and those are on the screen is everybody who won the awards. There are folks that aren't here that let us know. So we'll bypass those names, but otherwise present those that are here with the thank yous and the awards for years of service. So, and then following all of this, we will take some photos. I think we'll do 5, 10, 15 together, and then the rest of the years together for photos. If you wouldn't mind sticking around, I'd appreciate it. The cups and the clocks have boxes over there if you want a box for those. They're sitting by the doorway over there.
And the cookies and milk are where?
Did you bake them? Because I ran out of time. Randy, if you want to come down.
All right.
All right, 5 years. Wade Swayzer. Two shots. Penny Testa. Take action.
She's only been 5 years.
That's amazing.
I thought she was longer.
I agree. She's been here forever. I like her. Penny.
Chuck Parents, or Charles, I should say. You're not getting hollered at.
Yes, exactly.
Michelle Sauber.
Yeah, maybe.
Krista Tyson. Well, you kind of have to say it. Julianne Curtin.
I just noticed that.
Third 5-year winner.
Your recipients, everybody won.
10 years, Darcy O'Connor. Don't know that I said Tom Clancy. Is Tom Clancy? We're accepting the jail kit. He's probably distributing breakfast. Miss Mary Murphy.
Twins live in here.
And Dave Kicker. And that's all for 10 years that are here. 15 years has Amy been done a few things for us.
Congratulations.
I didn't see Carrie Herman come in, working in the jail. Jason McDonald, I saw him.
Oh, Jason's here.
I wouldn't want this job.
Received your gift.
Thank you for this. Steinmendorf. Bobby Hoffman.
I have no excuse for being late.
That's right, congratulations. There you are. Very nice.
Greg's not down in South Country for some reason today, isn't
Debbie Helmer.
he? I'm wondering if that,
I usually.
Thank you. Randy Lockhart. Mary
Put a
Hanlon.
battery in it.
I was wondering if it's a winder or but no. Oh, it came with a battery. They just didn't turn it out.
And that's
They do.
so alone, Tom, so alone.
That's all right.
Every 5 years, he's always alone.
Thanks. Congratulations. Short years, right?
Right on.
Delray LeBlanc.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Jerry Walensky.
Why, thank you.
She's the only one.
no, she's not. She's with the other seven.
No.
You're on the wrong, no, you're on the wrong list.
What do you mean the wrong list?
We're right here.
I'm on the wrong list. Was me.
Everybody keeps coming in.
Oh, that's funny.
Bad days, but it was.
Yeah.
It went by fast, didn't it?
I would say.
A lot of changes too. When I started 20 years ago, they were
Because
just
everything's
rolling out
been said, but that's beside the point. I'm like,
Yeah, you're right.
When I left
you and I just looked at each
sheriff's
other.
office, the first
Please make it stop.
dumb computer when you're talking to the state.
Get to the point.
It can be said in 10 words easily.
Michael Treadles
PD.
in the back.
We had so much time listening to
That's what it was. You only got one day,
this.
Predator Cruise.
Yeah, both of them.
And I'm sure there was a few Oppenheimers.
It is.
still in the state. And I'm sure there's some smart aleck
Joyce Collins,
Drink
35 years.
PC.
Make sure you vote
He
for
had
him.
done blank and blank, and that's all he got. I mean, that's just how it was.
40 years.
A personal computer.
And Debbie Whitler, who's here.
You know, that are watching this TV.
Yeah.
They say,
Oh, good
No,
grief.
she's only got about,
you thought I was clapping for
I think she's only got 3 years in.
I'm thinking that we are, yeah. I'm guessing.
No,
Are we
I
taking
was,
photos with the group?
I was off a little bit.
Thank you.
Small birdie.
No, part of the herd here. I was being, I was wrong.
Hey, buddy.
Take care. We'll see you.
Yeah.
What did I miss? I'm always in the front.
Don't be scared. Let's. We're one big happy family. There's that smile. Yeah, maybe in between those two ways. Nope, just stay there. Maybe not. Maybe that's. Maybe now you're kind of tucked in. Maybe go back over here. There you go. I'm sure. And tuck in. Perfect. 1, 2, 3. We'll repeat this in about 20 years, and everybody will be just as young looking. There. Perfect. Okay, thank you all for
Take care, buddy.
Morning. Wait, let me do something.
And they gotta fill in their own.
All right, the rest.
The rest of us. You didn't hear that, huh?
Mary, I think we can talk to two in the front row and Annette too. And Mike. Yep, a little more data. Can we see everybody's face? Debbie, you're kind of tucked in there. That doesn't work. And they're too. And Del Ray. Step up.
Delray, come on, let's see. Yeah, there we
Stand
go.
on that. Step.
Okay, Brian Mindorf, you have like a ginormous smile going on.
I got it.
Fantastic.
Thank you all.
Happy you worked for 20 years.
Thank you. All right, we're taking 5.
We'll take 5 minutes.
Work you're doing out there.
Oh, yeah.
I get those texts that you're out there.
Hands of hope.
I'll call it.
That's what that was.
Proclamation.
Good morning.
And ladies, you need to state your name for the record, please.
Julie Kapsch. I'm the Assistant Director at Hands of Hope.
Amanda Caping, Sexual Assault Coordinator.
Deanna Thompson, General Crime Coordinator.
Okay, this proclamation is for Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Whereas females between the ages 16 to 24 are more vulnerable to intimate partner violence, experiencing abuse at a rate almost triple the national average, and whereas 1 in 3 adolescent girls in the United States is a victim of physical, emotional, or verbal abuse from a dating partner, a figure that far exceeds victimization rates for other types of violence affecting youth, and whereas high school students who experience physical violence in a dating relationship are more likely to use drugs and alcohol, are at greater risk of suicide, and are much more likely to carry patterns of abuse into future relationships. And whereas young people victimized by a dating partner are more likely to engage in risky sexual behavior and unhealthy dieting behaviors, and the experience may disrupt normal development of self-esteem and body image. And whereas, excuse me, nearly half of teens who experience dating violence report that incidents of abuse took place in a school building or on school grounds. And whereas only 33% of teens who are in an abusive relationship ever tell anyone about the abuse, and 81% of parents surveyed either believe teen dating violence is not an issue or admit that they do not know if it is one. And whereas by providing young people with education about healthy relationships and relationship skills, and by changing attitudes that support violence, we recognize that dating violence can be prevented. And whereas it is essential to raise community awareness and to provide training for teachers, counselors, and school staff so that they may recognize when youth are exhibiting signs of dating violence. And whereas the establishment of Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month will benefit young people, their families, schools, and communities, regardless of socioeconomic status, gender, sexual orientation, or ethnicity. And whereas everyone has the right to a safe and healthy relationship and to be free from abuse. Now therefore, we, the Morrison County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim February 2019 Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month throughout Morrison County. We urge all community members to work towards ending teen dating violence by empowering young people to develop healthier relationships, assisting victims in assessing the information and supportive services they need, creating better and more resources for young people in need, instituting effective intervention and prevention policies in schools, and engaging in discussion with family members and peers to promote awareness and prevention of the quiet epidemic of teen dating violence.
Mr. Chair, I'll move on this.
Second.
Any more discussion?
I just want to say thank you for everything you do, and I like the fact that you're working with schools to help them become aware, because 1 out of 3 are getting not sexual violence, but are being violated, and that's a horrible number. We got to bring awareness to this, because our teachers are the first line of defense to help you guys out, so I appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you.
I concur with what Mike says, so thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, besides all of that, I think it's all of our duties to open up our eyes and to look and to be able to come forth and speak and to ask those questions. And sometimes those are very difficult questions to ask, and you folks do an amazing job, there's no doubt about it. But I think everyone would agree that we would like to eliminate you. And I mean that very positively. If we don't have the problem, you're eliminated. And I mean that, please, very positively. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you.
And I look at it as now that the teens have someone to turn to, and I think that's very important. So years ago, when a couple of us here were growing up, you never had anything like that, and I think this is something that's very important for the community and the schools. So again, thank you very much. Gentlemen, I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Not those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Photo op.
Think so.
The coordinating purple is lovely.
No,
Good grief, come on.
Thank you.
thank you, everybody.
Stay warm. Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
Good morning, Brad. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Brad. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning.
Social service report.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Good morning.
The first report on the social service side is something that's probably pretty critical right now given last week's temperatures, but one of those programs that we help support and people can apply for is our energy assistance program. And so Karen is here to help share a little bit of information on what that is and what we spend on that. So,
Energy assistance is handled by TRICAP. They handle Morrison, Sherburne, Benton, and Stearns County in St. Cloud. Energy assistance is made up of primary heat grant, crisis assistance, and energy-related repair. As you can see, it goes by the household income, the household size, and how much they use in heating costs. That's what the grant is calculated on. So if you're eligible, it does give the income limits for a household size of 1, 2, up to a household size of 9 for the last 30 days income. If they're eligible for the primary heat, they're eligible to receive crisis funding, and they're also eligible to receive energy-related repairs. The crisis funding is basically when they receive their primary heat, and say it's February, March, they're running out, they have no money left in their funding, their primary heat, they can go in and they can apply for a crisis fund. It's a flat funding grant of $350. So if their furnace breaks down during the heating season, they can also apply for the energy-related repair. It's a program. If your furnace is repairable, they'll repair it. If it's not repairable, they'll replace it. Okay, moving on, we've got graphs to show how much primary heat we've used in Morrison, Benton, Sherburne, and Stearns County. Morrison County, TRICAP has served 831 households. Money-wise, $590,000. So as you can see, it serves a lot of households, and it's just an excellent program. And then energy-related repair in Morrison County, I'm a little surprised. We only served 6 households in Morrison. Total of $2,000. Not a lot of people, but that's okay. And the crisis program in Morrison County, we've served 48 households. $18,000, which is quite a bit. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, where does the money come from, Karen? First of
It's,
all, where does the money come from?
Federally funded program.
And this is probably a really ignorant question to ask, but people are certainly aware of this.
Oh, yes. Applications, if you were on the program last year, you automatically get an application in the mail.
Okay.
Our agency refers a lot of people to this program.
And then I have one more question, if I may. Household size and 90-day gross income. Let's assume that we're a household of 3.
Okay?
The 90-day household income is 10,000?
Yes.
Am I reading this right?
Yes.
Okay.
If I may, when you base that income, is it based on assistance that they're already getting, or is it like Social Security, and how does one verify that?
Well, if you're on Social Security, you have an award letter. And if you're receiving assistance through our office, we can verify that. We can do printouts. We automatically email those to TRICAP. So the client will either email us or call us and say, hey, I need proof of my income, and we'll send it directly to TRICAP.
So Social Security is part of their income?
Yes.
Okay, wow. Pretty low figures that qualify.
But you'd be surprised. Well, you can see how many it
It's only
helps.
for 90 days, though.
This is kind of, again, one of those foundational programs that helps people stay in their home. A lot of these folks are probably on a fixed income, such as Social Security, retirement, disability, one of those. So this, again, is one of those programs that can help maintain an individual or a family in their home.
Gentlemen, any more discussion?
You know, there must be an awful lot of, like, furnaces being replaced. When you take that 590,000 and divide it by the 831 people, that's over $7,000 a person that's getting help. So that must be an awful lot of furnace replacements.
Well, when we did the program, there were quite a few. I mean, there's a lot of households that have old furnaces.
Yeah, it must be.
If they're not repairable, they'll replace them. It's a good program for the elderly so they can stay in their home.
Yep, no.
If someone's in assisted living, apartments, would they be able to qualify too for?
No. Apartments, yes, if you're renting, but you're not eligible for the energy-related repair program because that's the landlord's responsibility.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen? All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
I'll ask Jim to come up here. So this report is a little later than anticipated. Normally, I try to bring this forward in November when the cost report comes out. But for some reason, it was quite late this year. And I see I forgot to put one document in your packet, which is the explanation of support, health, and social service program. So I apologize for that. I thought I made some changes and had put it in there, but I did not get it in there. So
Send that via email
Yeah.
to the board.
Yep, I can do that. So this is a report that really defines all of what Morrison County is authorizing, approving, paying for, both administratively by contract. And so I have some graphs in your packet. The first graph is the human service cost by major program, and so this is a statewide numbers. As you can see, the vast majority of what the state pays for is the health programs, which is medical assistance and waiver. The second graph is the revenue shares. As you can see, counties pay for about 6% of all the human service costs. And that really hasn't changed a whole lot, but as you talk about the growth of the programs, 6% growing at, whatever percentage that is. I think it was about a 3.5% from 16 to 17, if I remember right, in the total programs. The federal and state split about half and half what they pay for. So that's, again, the total statewide human service costs. The next two graphs are related to what Morrison County's costs are. So again, fairly similar in terms of the majority of what the state and county pays for is health related. So again, medical assistance, waivers, things like that. The smallest is the support, which would be the Minnesota Family Investment Program, TANF, food support, those kinds of things.
The heating programs that we just talked about.
The heating programs. And social services is mental health, child protection, vulnerable adults, those particular areas. And then in terms of the revenue, as you can see from the graph, that the county here is about 4%, which is what our levy is, of the total cost of that $93 million that in terms of the health and human services costs for Morrison County. The state makes up 46%, and the federal government makes up 49%. The miscellaneous 1% are fees. I can't remember all of the things that are in there, but the fees are a big one, and some other costs. And then what I try to do is give you a comparison from of the last 4 years, which is what they put in the report. So for instance, if you look at the top line, for 2017, that $87.3 million and that almost $6 million combined is the $93 million overall cost. So administrative cost for our programs is about $6 million in terms of what in terms of the work that we do. So if you look at the change from 14 to 17, it's about a 17% change. In terms of the payments, it's about a 20% change. And we're still kind of in that period where the Affordable Care Act came through. So you'll see, I do think that slower growth is now happening. Affordable Care Act really became instrumental in about 2013. And so costs, especially in the health programs, continued to grow from 2013 on. So if you look at the support programs, again, it's about $6 million, and about $1.5 million of that is the administrative cost to run the programs. Health programs, again, that is the biggest chunk for Morrison County. And in terms of the cost, it's about $61.5 million with administrative costs of about $837,000. And then the social service programs, about $21 million with about $3.6 million in administrative costs. And as you can see on the social service side, which is again the vulnerable adults, the child protection areas, mental health, that continues to grow, and that's probably now where we're seeing the most significant growth. Out-of-home placements have grown, mental health costs have grown. So on the social service side, it's been about a 28% growth from 14 to 17. The bottom chart is really comparing where we are, and really what I'd call your attention to is our rank in terms of counties. So as you can see, overall we're about 47th in per capita costs. On the support side, we're 37. On the health programs, we're about 57. And on the social service programs, we rank about 31 in total rank per capita. And so this is kind of the overall cost of what we do. I'll turn it over to Jim, and he has one more report that he's going to share relative to our local costs and what the county board approves around when you look at our budget. So,
All right, next page.
Morning, Jim.
All right, good morning. Again, this is local spending, all board approved type thing through your twice a month meetings. I would look mainly at the bold numbers of 2017 total, the change from 16, and then the 16 total. So I'll stick mainly with the change from 16. In 2017, we only increased our gross expenditures by about $2,400. We increased our federal revenue by about $26,500. We decreased our state revenue by just $1,300, but we had a large decrease in our miscellaneous revenue, about $147,000. That mainly was caused by changes with South Country. In 2017, South Country took over the transportation piece for our access services for medical appointments. And prior to that, we were doing it here within the county, paying TRICAP, the volunteer driver service, and Whitecall for the federal rate, which was around 50-some cents, and then bill South Country back $1 per mile. So roughly, we were getting 50 cents extra for doing the administrative work of scheduling the ride and paying the vendor to do it. Another thing that changed with South Country was that the Care Connector moved out of social services, which was funded partially by South Country, over to public health. Another decrease in our miscellaneous revenue was that Todd County hired their own child support supervisor, and we're no longer contracting with Morrison County to have our child support supervisor work over in Todd County. That is the majority of it. The largest place we're spending money is, again, in children's services, 30% of it. And we're only getting federal reimbursement about 22%, I guess. I'd like to stick that with the child support or children's services area. The state basically funds about the same amount as the federal government does. Any other questions?
Gentlemen, any more discussion, comments, questions? Anything else, Brad?
that's it.
No,
Jim? Go ahead.
The big numbers. It's amazing how much health insurance and the health of society costs. And it blows my mind every time I see these numbers. And I think recognizing and calling out what truly drives cost is important, because so often the public gets, I think, focused on the assistant programs or what folks commonly think of in social services as, welfare programs or things for folks that aren't, working or whatnot. And it's healthcare. It really is healthcare costs, and it's primarily healthcare for elderly. That really costs a lot. So
Elderly and disabled.
And disabled. Keeping that in mind is important, I think, in terms of what really costs taxpayers in general, not just property taxpayers, but all of the federal and state as well.
Mr. Chair, I always think it's remarkable that, like here, we got $93 million coming into the county, and only $3,700,000 comes out of our taxpayers' money. That really helps, like my area with all the nursing homes and things in the Piers area. Without this money, we would be in tough shape, and there's a lot of money that comes to those areas for that help. So.
And I would point out kind of what Jim talked about. If you look at the primary, the highest percentage of levy is around the children's programs, which is out-of-home placements, the protection of the young, those kinds of things. And then the vast majority of the health programs that you talked about, if you think about the nursing homes, the assisted living, trying to maintain folks in their own homes who are older or have a disability, that is the primary driver of where we are in terms of this $93 million.
Mr. Chair, it's a staggering number, the human services cost for the state of Minnesota. It's scary, and it's going to continually get bigger. Do they have a plan do they have a plan in the future for holding down costs? Or obviously, we're already trying to keep people in their homes, and that's reducing the cost to individuals, but this is a scary number.
It's a very large number, and with the new administration, they'll be releasing their budget shortly, so I think we'll get a sense with the new administration, new leadership, kind of where their priorities lie. But I think we're continuing trying to figure out how we can maintain people in their home, which is much cheaper. They've increased the waiver programs, which again drives some of these numbers, which helps maintain people in their homes. And so it will be interesting to see where the priorities fall for the new administration as they start to release their budget numbers and their priorities.
Mr. Chair, I can't, excuse me, go ahead, sorry.
Because Morrison County's human services costs $93 million. We budget, what, $3 million, was it?
From a levy, it's about $3.3 million.
So, of course, they have no consideration a lot of times for, they like pushing stuff down to the county, and that's a staggering number. That's scary, actually. That could eat up your reserves in a blink of an eye.
Yes, it could.
Thank you for sharing this. I won't be able to sleep
Zielinski.
at night now. No, just kidding.
It's not only staggering, but I can't imagine what these numbers would be if we didn't have the programs through social services, if you will, public health, if you will, of keeping people in their homes. Think the number that we've just seen here, that we've heard here, which again is absolutely out of this world. What would that number be if pick a number, the 70, 80, 90, 100-year-old people that we are today working and striving to keep in their homes? What if we didn't do that? And they all went to, I don't know, build some more nursing homes, whatever it is, I don't know. But what number would it be then? And I don't have the answer, of course, either, so.
And that big number you're talking about is $14 trillion.
Yes.
And we're
It doesn't
one
hurt to mention
county in
that.
the state of Minnesota, and the state of Minnesota is one county in the entire United States. The federal government and what it costs to fund people is amazing.
And of course, we can beat up the health care costs along with the whole thing as much as we want to. You know, we've heard the stories over and over and over of the one pill that costs $1 gazillion, and a child or an adult has to have that pill once a month or once a day, whatever it might be. I don't know. But those costs and connect it with everything else is just astronomical.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Yep, thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. You're always the bearer of good news
Right, yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
and big figures.
The next item on the social services agenda is to approve a contract with a new provider for guardianship services, Presbyterian Family Foundation out of Wilmer. We lost a provider for guardianship, and so we're looking to fill that gap a little bit. And Presbyterian was willing to come into Morrison County and provide services. We have about 35 people on guardianship. It is a mandated service for those, then we end up paying for those that don't have the resources through their own income or resources. So looking to approve this new provider, and Brian did approve the contract.
Gentlemen, I'll ask for a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion. Do I have
Second.
and a second? Any more discussion? Could you explain guardianship?
Thank you.
So what ends up happening is when a person is not competent to make their own decisions, then this is the process we go through to help support them, whether it be making medical decisions, where they live, those kinds of things. And so it's kind of the last resort for those individuals who can't manage their own resources. And it's determined by a physician or a mental health professional. We do not make the decision.
So a family member can't make that decision themselves? A parent just say, you know what, the kids can, or the children or the relatives can't go in and say, you know what, we're going to manage so-and-so's money.
Not under this process. They
Okay.
can go in under other processes
Okay.
and do that, but this is really taking a lot of rights away from an individual. So if kids want to go in and take over the responsibility for the parent under this, they have to be determined that they're not competent to make their own decisions.
Okay. Any more discussion, gentlemen? All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is replacing a child support officer. We lost a child support officer, unfortunate circumstances in November, shortly before Thanksgiving. Been out for
Health-related issues, make it sound.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Still a terrible situation,
Yes,
if I have to,
yes.
still a terrible situation. We have waited to determine if they could come back from this medical leave, and they are not going to be able to come back from their medical leave. This is a very important program relative to the self-sufficiency of families. They're kind of that first line of defense when it comes to helping families maintain some self-sufficiency. In terms of caseloads, we are we're right there with other counties, state regulations, and this is also a position that is funded at 66% by the federal government. And so I'm asking to replace the child support position.
Gentlemen, I need a motion and a second to approve the replacing child support officer.
Mr. Chair, I'll move on that.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
And this is a replacement, so it will have no effect whatsoever on Brad's budget, so.
Correct.
Anything else? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to the Public Health Social Service Report. As you might recall, at planning on Tuesday, we had a long conversation around South Country Health Alliance and some of the challenges they have. South Country Health Alliance is our county-based purchasing entity that provides health insurance for our residents. We have been a member of South Country Health Alliance since 2007. Currently, they are struggling with some financial challenges given the risky health insurance marketplace, and they are requesting a capital call of $2.5 million from Morrison County out of a total of $16.8 million from all 11 member counties. The reason for this capital call is there's been higher than expected claims, lower than expected enrollment. The reimbursement rates have not matched what they have been budgeting. And there's also been some change into some non-admitted items that they use for statutory accounting requirements. South Country Health Alliance is required by statute to be at 200% of risk-based capital, or RBC. As they close out their books come the end of February, they do not believe that they're going to be at 200% of risk-based capital. And so they're going to need this $16 million in capital call to get to 200% of risk-based capital. I put in your packet the resolution that South Country Health Alliance has provided. And the Minnesota Department of Health and Department of Commerce is looking at this to determine if they will remain viable to be a health plan in the state of Minnesota for the 11 counties that have county-based purchasing with South Country. I will let you know that Wadena County has voted to withdraw. They have not voted on this resolution. Wabasha County has voted to withdraw, and another county has voted to not approve the resolution. Brown County voted not to approve the resolution. Goodhue County did vote to approve the resolution. And I believe there are 2 other counties who are acting on this resolution today at their county board meetings.
Mr. Chair, Dodge County did approve a version of this resolution, however, is revisiting it because the numbers changed. In the last few weeks, the numbers have changed in which new projections were brought out, in which the capital call amount overall, and then obviously for corresponding counties, is increasing or has increased.
Gentlemen, I'm going to ask for a motion and a second. Does not mean that we're...
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
And Mr. Chair, the motion would be to approve the
Approve
resolution?
or deny?
Yes.
No.
To approve.
No.
To
Yep.
approve, excuse me. Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, okay.
And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about our recommendation for this and why the recommendation was as it was.
Mr. Chair, I would certainly like to hear the recommendation. Without a doubt, I would like to hear the recommendation. This is an awful lot of an awful lot of money. I would also like to know what would happen or what will happen if Morrison County was to work on, and I know that this is a joint powers board, I got that, work on leaving South Country. Well, big picture, what would happen?
And that's a good comment. I just want to make sure that everyone's aware that this is not a motion that we're disbanding South Country. This is a motion for the capital call.
Yes.
So Deb, if you could, or Brad, give some more information, I'd appreciate it.
What is happening is that all counties are required to vote on this resolution because the Joint Powers Board is bringing it forward to all county boards. They approve the resolution for the capital call. Now it's up to each board individually to now adopt that resolution. If 2/3 of the counties adopt the resolution, then Morrison County would be required, whether we approve or deny the resolution, to pay forward this money. If less than 2/3 approve the resolution, then it will be up to South Country Joint Powers Board to see if they're going to invoke the capital call and require it, or Minnesota Department of Health can invoke the capital call and require it. Also, I think if 2/3 of the boards do not approve the resolution, then there will be some difficult decisions for the Joint Powers Board to make around how are they going to move forward if they don't have the cash to be viable under the Minnesota statute requirements of 200% of risk-based capital. So, and at this point, it does not look like 2/3 have approved the resolution because, as we heard, 2 counties withdrew and 1 county did not approve.
If I may interrupt, and I'm good at that, those 2 that withdrew, do they have a vote now?
Under the bylaws, they do not, but the hope is that South Country Joint Powers Board, given the timeframes that have occurred, that they would consider giving them some voice in decision-making around what's going to happen with South Country. Part of the requirement was that if you wanted to withdraw, you had to withdraw within 30 days of the approval of the budget, which was January 3rd, which then required counties to withdraw by February 3rd. And so some counties did not want to take a chance that they could not withdraw by the end of this year and withdrew. Commissioner Blaine, Deb Gruber, and myself met a couple weeks ago prior to our county board planning meeting to have this conversation about what should we do as a county. And as we heard last week at planning, we felt like it was better to remain a member of South Country and have a voice in the direction South Country is going to take. By withdrawing at that time, it did not appear we would have a voice. Whether that changes or not, we're hoping it will. And I think the Joint Powers Board knows that these are difficult decisions for their boards to make, for their counties to make. So I do believe there may be some flexibility with that, but we made a conscious decision not to withdraw at this point, so our member of the Joint Powers Board would be able to bring back or have a voice in that direction.
Brad, if I may, even if those 2 counties that did withdraw, they still, if the cash call by South Country still goes forward, they'd be required to pay that under the joint powers, right?
That is correct.
Yep, they're a full member through this year, whatever that brings, whether it be cash, whether the Joint Powers Board grapples with the question of existing. All of that needs to come to play. And as we talked about last week, I think it's important that the Joint Powers Board, who governs that Joint Powers organization, really grapples with those decisions and really considers them. And I think counties individually are speaking quite clearly by action either on this resolution or action to withdraw from the organization, that we need to have those conversations, that as a group we need to really seriously consider what is best moving forward.
And Mr. Chair, if I'm on the right page, February 3rd would have been our date to withdraw if we would have chose to do that. Of course, now that technically would have given us no voice at that point. However, past practices, this isn't the first time that there's been a cash call made by South Country. Past practices would direct me through a Joint Powers Board, which I truly do believe in, that that Joint Powers Board would meet and would change that February 3rd date to, let's just pick March or April, for a county such as Morrison to be able to say, yep, we're in it as a Joint Powers Board for 2019. But if 2020 came along tomorrow and there was another cash call of another $2 million or $2.5 million, we could have removed ourselves from that.
Commissioner Blaine is going to bring forward a suggestion or a motion to the Joint Powers Board to extend that deadline for withdraw at 12/31 of 19. Every year that clock starts over for that action, but it's reasonable to bring forward. Leadership at South Country is very aware of the fact that they're bringing it forward. It's a bylaws, date identified in the bylaws, so it can be changed by majority vote for the Joint Powers Board. So we really have no reason to believe that that won't happen. It certainly behooves every member to do that, and they're the ones voting on it. So I anticipate that action will move forward.
And I'm going to, Commissioner Jelinski asked a question, so the recommendation moving forward would be?
To not approve this resolution. And the Joint Powers Board actually meets on Thursday, so I think we'll have a better sense of the direction of South Country, and so we'll be able to bring back some even more solid information. I would again like to make note that currently in Morrison County, there are about 5,800 members of South Country Health Alliance. South Country Health Alliance has done some very good things for Morrison County. It's because of South Country that we have Apple Tree Dental. As we've talked about many times, the health insurance industry is very, very volatile. And a couple of years ago, South Country had some very good years. And given the fact they were county-based purchasing and owned by the counties, they wanted to share in that success with their county partners, so they provided a grant of $250,000 to begin to establish Apple Tree Dental. They paid for a care coordinator for the county to help local providers. They've been good about contracting with all the local providers that we have, where some of the larger insurance companies have been challenged with that. But I think at this point, I think it's a message we want to provide to South Country that we not approve the resolution, balancing the good things that have happened, the volatility of the health insurance industry, and realizing that they need to make some decisions about how to either remain viable or do we not remain viable and look at another strategy in terms of how we're going to manage our health insurance companies here. So
I have a motion and a discussion, but I have another Go ahead, Commissioner Wilson.
I've got a couple questions. Now, you take Wadena, for instance, that they pull out. They're still on the hook, though, for their $1.2 million.
That is correct.
Then I want to also state that if we'd have been with Health Partners or Blue Cross, we might have been paying more money than what we've paid through Health Partners or through South Country, or I'm not?
We would not.
Okay.
We would not have any additional costs if we were with a PMAP provider and not county-based purchasing. So because we chose to go county-based purchasing in 2007, the boards of these counties made a conscious decision to say we want to manage our provider networks, the health insurance of our community, those kinds of things, because they did not want to be, especially when you look at rural communities, when you talk about the larger health insurance companies, and I'll pick on the Blues or Medica or any of them, our ability to have any say in our provider networks is a huge issue. And because they are only contracting with certain numbers of providers. But ultimately, our individuals, if South Country does not continue, our county residents would be covered by another health insurance company. They would have access to most of the same providers, and in particular, our hospitals and clinics here. We would not generally have this cost if we were with another health insurance company.
Okay, so just for clarification, so people understand, if you're with South Country now, which is 5,800 members in Morrison County, there will be another provider if we're not with South Country. They'll be taken care of by somebody else.
Correct.
Yep.
It was a decision to really engage in that ownership and risk that comes with it because of what that potential reward is, which is having a say in how business is done and having the ability to influence those components of business. So it was an intentional action to take on risk, but it's weighing that. Is now that financial obligation worth that benefit? And I think that's the question that we're grappling with. Insurance is a risky business, especially as of late with all the changes in regulations, with all of the different things coming into play. We're playing in a game that we don't make the rules on, and sometimes that's difficult, and we're experiencing one of those difficult times. And the question is, how do we move forward best?
In the early 2000s, when the state of Minnesota decided to move away from straight medical assistance, which means nobody really managed the health of those individuals in MA. They could go anywhere at any time. They decided to move them into similar to everybody else around. They need to have a health insurance company that kind of helps manage their health care costs and things like that. Rural counties were real concerned. And this county really was a leader in the early 2000s saying there's a better way to manage our health insurance of our community. And so even though we joined in 2007, the county board back then did some real active efforts to try and wrap their arms around becoming county-based purchasing or providing insurance in a different way. And so times have changed, or at least with this company, times have changed, and it's been a challenge. And so I think we need to, as a joint powers board and as county membership and with South Country, is making some decisions about how do we make them more viable, more sustainable, if we can.
Commissioner Lemire.
Yeah, Brad, is there any other county-based purchasing joint powers authorities in Minnesota?
Yes, good question, Commissioner Lemire. There is Prime West, which is western Minnesota. It's another county-based purchasing. Hennepin Health in Minneapolis, part of Hennepin County, is county-based purchasing. And then Itasca Health, which is the Grand Rapids area, is a hybrid. I don't necessarily say that they're county-based, but they're a hybrid, accountable communities for care type of organization. And currently with South Country and all of the others, about half of the state is county-based, actually more than half the state might be county-based purchasing, as Prime West is now taking on some other counties.
And how are they doing with their percentages?
You know, I don't have access to all of their information. I do know that they have had some challenges with the rates, but I believe currently, from a fiscal standpoint, they're in better shape.
Any more questions, gentlemen? Comments?
I would just like to say, this $2.5 million is a lot of money, but along with your planning and the county, I know you have $4 million in reserves, that some counties do not have that, and they have to go out to the taxpayers and ask for it. So I thank you for your awareness and looking forward on things, and we do have that money in reserves to pay this bill. So.
And gentlemen, I have a motion, a second. I'll read the brief description again. South Country Health Alliance is requesting a capital call of all member counties due to a number of factors that has decreased the risk-based capital below the required 200% as required by Minnesota statute. Morrison County's share would be a request for a commitment by resolution of up to $2,558,226.
Can I make one more comment, Commissioner?
Go, sure.
I would like to just point out what the chair just mentioned. Up to $2.55 million. The books will actually close February 28th. And so this would be the maximum amount. There is a chance it could go down. I hate to say this, but there is a chance it could go up. But right now and that actually, I should also say that $2.55 million is actually 210% of risk-based capital to kind of give that cushion if the numbers don't improve. So thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, Brad.
$2.55 million would be currently the maximum amount.
I'll ask for a motion to approve.
We already have one.
Oh, that's right. I got a motion, a second. Those in favor by saying aye. Those opposed by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is denied.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
And I will say that after the Joint Powers Board, I'll meet with Commissioner Blaine and with Deb Gruber and talk about kind of what we'd bring back to the board and give you a sense of where they're at. So probably next planning or the planning meeting after. There'd probably be a little time, hopefully after today's joint powers board, to make some decisions, so.
But by voting no just now, we're still on the hook for 2 point whatever.
absolutely.
We could still be on the hook. for it,
depends,
yeah.
yes.
Yep, okay.
That's all I have this morning.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you very kindly.
Who's on the board next? Land Services. Good morning.
Amy?
I was just wondering if Commissioner Lemire would clap for me.
I'll clap for you, too.
Thank you.
I don't think he
Happens
has,
when you're not paying attention.
I thought you had a favorite out there.
I do have multiple favorites. They're all my favorites.
Good morning.
morning,
I've
Amy.
got a couple of things for you today. The first one is to consider the conditional use permit request from Ray Sieben. This is to expand to a Tier 2 feedlot through the construction of a second chicken barn. This was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with 7 conditions. And those conditions were to abide by local and state law, notify road authority when hauling manure during road restrictions, abide by the good neighbor, stormwater, and feedlot odor minimization plans, plan to maintain a 50-foot wide grass buffer around the perimeter of the barns after construction for ongoing stormwater management. Feedlot owners shall notify receiving field owners of the unsuitability of soils for stockpiling. The feedlot owner shall notify the feedlot officer of manure cleanout. And finally, on-site manure storage shall not occur unless upon a permitted stacking slab or alternative method that meets the requirements of Minnesota Rule 7020.
Gentlemen, I'm asking for a motion and a second to consider conditional use permit for Ray Sieben to expand to Tier 2 with the 7 conditions.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, I just have a question, just a comment more than anything, I think. You know, I think it's every time that we talk about a chicken barn, a pig barn, or whatever kind of a barn, that we have a 50-foot green space all the way around it or some kind of thing.
Correct.
Why don't we just make that part of our how do you do?
That's a fantastic.
Instead of every time, well, we've got to come up with a condition. Let's see, that condition should be. Well, I'm just saying.
Yes. No, that's a.
And if I'm out of line, just please tell me.
No, I agree.
No,
Why
Mr.
wouldn't
Chair,
we do
I agree, and that's one of the things that, we are currently looking at our feedlot section of the ordinance, and one of the things that I watch for is when we are consistently putting the same conditions on, then that really is speaking to that's an expected performance standard. So one of the things that I'll be bringing to you is rolling pretty much all of these conditions that you are typically seeing into the performance standards for feedlots, because that's really where they belong when we're continuously conditioning that way.
And I don't mean to put anybody on the spot, but it's every time Planning Commission grapples with, well, let's see, what kind of conditions should we put on? And I'm not being rude to anybody at all, but it just seems like there's an awful lot of extra time of, well, we have a condition for this and a condition for that. So, thank you.
Makes complete sense, and that's really what we need to be doing with our ordinance when we update it.
Amy, if I may, and I think I know the answer to this, but again, I'll put that out there. Anybody that asks for a conditional use permit to put up a barn, whatever it may be, after, because this is before they're asking for us to be built, once it's built, does an inspector go out there and say, okay, we have these 7 conditions met, or how's the process?
Yes, so we have a tracking tool within our office, so when they're issued, then they go into our tracking tool and then they come up for inspection. And that's where, initially we're looking to see if all of those conditions have been met, and then they'll go on to another schedule for a periodic look to make sure that they're complying with their conditions.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Gentlemen, I have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Great, thank you. The next one is to consider the conditional use permit request from Camp Shamana. This is twofold, to add a 678.82 acre parcel to the camp, and then also to implement a 10-year master plan. This was also recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with 3 conditions. Those conditions are: the camp shall not allow patrons and staff to utilize soaps and other cleansers within Lake Shamana. The camp shall not allow horses and other livestock to enter the waters of Lake Shamana. And the camp shall arrange for the Morrison County Shoreline Specialist to perform a stormwater and shoreline assessment of the camp property. This shall be completed by September 1, 2019, and the camp shall implement and maintain the recommendations of the Shoreline Specialist by September 1, 2020.
Gentlemen, ask for a motion and a second to consider a conditional use permit for Camp Shamana with the 3 conditions.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I would like to, now what this was a plan that came in over all those acres. And now when they want to start building and implementing that plan, then they will come back with each building and so forth to make sure that it fits into the plan, correct?
So each building, they're still going to need a land use permit from us, but what we'll be doing is, as they're looking to implement this plan and build those buildings, we would look to see if that was identified in their approved 10-year plan, and then we would just move forward with the permitting.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Not those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. And then I'm going to have Jean come
you.
up. We've got some abatements for you.
All right, Jean. Good morning, Jean.
Good morning.
Morning, Gene.
I haven't seen you with these for a while.
Well, the fire abatements are once a year.
Oh, okay.
Other abatements come as needed.
As needed, just ran.
Yep. Yes, because the fires are ongoing, and so we need to, before we can abate them, we need to find out if they're rebuilt.
Oh, sure.
And what time of the year they were rebuilt.
Okay.
So I do have a list of fire abatements here that I'm requesting the approval for the abatements.
You have 9 of them, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We can put these all in one motion, I'm assuming?
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 9 abatements. Any more discussion? Not those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. That's all
Since we
have.
got somebody here, how about a motion to pay the bills?
Yes.
All the bills.
All the bills. Mr. Chair, I'll make that
I
motion.
need a second.
I'll second
This is
it.
a roll call. Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Myself is aye. Motion carried. Public Works.
Morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Morning,
Good morning, Steve.
To the board, everyone. Several action items for your consideration this morning. The first action item is a continuation of our agreement with City Lights. Throughout the last number of years, as a part of our safety program, we have installed flashing beacons at certain intersections that they qualify for, and also some street lighting. The electrical underground cables, then we contract with City Lights to locate when there may be other utilities digging or other entities digging in the area. We'd like to continue that arrangement, and this contract is for that.
Gentlemen, I ask for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
It was quite a long time ago that the state of Minnesota had implemented their SCORE requirements, and those requirements for rural counties were that we reach a 35% recycling rate of the solid waste generated in our county. For Morrison County, the way we set this up was that we allowed cities and clusters of townships to organize their own programs and establish their own recycling setups under certain conditions. There's a certain number of materials they have to have. We have agreements with each of them that are in our program. And then we pass on funds that we receive from the state of Minnesota to help support those programs. So these 2 resolutions are for the distribution of those funds the way we have budgeted them in 2019. There is a There is a spreadsheet of each town and township, each city and township in our county and how that distribution is made. We'd like to continue this program. It's been very successful for our county. We exceed 50% recycling rate on solid waste generated in our county, and this is a big part of that. So our request is there are 2 resolutions, one for the recycling grant and the other one for the cleanup day grant. I'd ask, Mr. Chairman, that they be adopted individually. And so we'd like to continue and implement these the way they are presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the cleanup day grant.
I need a second.
Second.
Any more discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then I need another motion for the recycling grant.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Steve.
Administration report.
Mr. Chair, I did speak with Steve Messerschmidt quickly this morning, and we'll move that budget meeting next Tuesday to approximately 11 when the planning session ends. I'll have folks come at 11. Do you want to do that here instead of over at the government center, or would you rather? Okay, we'll do that here.
It's up to you, gentlemen.
You all right?
Yep.
Okay,
Have it here?
we'll do that, and that way
Thank you
we'll do
for
work.
that.
Yep.
Thank you, Deb.
I'm
for
not sure
bringing
what's
that up.
on the schedule and on the agenda yet, I should say, for planning session, but we'll make it work
That's on the 12th, right?
on the 12th.
So
Yes.
moving from 1 o'clock to 11.
To 11
Or so,
approximately.
yeah.
And then, what else? I did tours on Friday for staff in the afternoon to go see the new, the progress in the basement or the garden level of the government center. Folks anxious to see it, of course. It always looks really big, and then it looks really small, and then it looks really big again, depending upon the stage. But it's advancing, and it's nice to see. You're welcome to stop down if you didn't get a chance to the other day and kind of see how the board area and the board table is coming together. It was nice. So thank you for taking the time to do that if we were able to. And we went and saw the boilers and some of the mechanics back there. A lot of equipment in there, and a lot of dollars spent to really put us in a good position for many, many years to come. So it's been good coming together that way. And I think that's it for now. Just so you know, I forget his name. The gentleman who works for Congressman Pete Stauber's office.
Schultz?
No, I can't remember his name right now. It starts with an L. Anyway, he did contact me to try to get to the government center and meet folks. He is going to come next Monday afternoon. We rescheduled our department head meeting from Wednesday morning, because I'll be out of town, to Monday afternoon. So he's going to stop by and say hi and get to know the department heads a little bit and introduce himself. You're welcome to join us if you'd like. I believe 2 o'clock is when the department head meeting is going to be.
Where's that going to be at?
In the IT training room. And then we'll conduct business, our normal agenda following that. But it was just an opportunity that worked best in his schedule now. But he did indicate he would be trying to get to some board meetings and such moving forward. Again, why am I drawing a blank on his name? It's something. He's in the Brainerd office for Congressman Stauber's office. So next week is the AMC Legislative Conference. I'm going to hit the beginning of it, and then I'm out of town, but hopefully can connect with at least Representative Krisha during that and talk a little bit about what's going on up there, or down there, I should say. But other than that, is there anything else that you're looking to meet with me on, or I should be following up on, or anything? Okay.
We're good, I guess, huh, gentlemen?
Right. I have no action items for today.
All right. How about board reports? Let's start with Commissioner Lemire.
What are we going from?
February 10th through February 23rd.
February 11th, Yellow Ribbon Committee, 5 o'clock, Kevin Fever. The 12th, planning session at 8:30, budget meeting at 11, and we got a MnDOT meeting. Is that at 6 or 6:30, Steve?
6:30.
6:30 at Public Works.
Is Public Works or in Randall?
It will be at Public Works.
Okay.
Our offices.
Here, very good, thank you.
And that's on the 12th at 6:30 at Public Works. Yep.
14th is Valentine's Day. Don't forget your loved one.
Or girls in administration, we like chocolates.
Let's give them an applaud.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on.
Moving on. 19th, board meeting, 9 o'clock. 20th, Public Health, 5 o'clock p.m. at Public Health Library. And that's it.
All right, Commissioner Wilson.
Well, there's a department head meeting at 2 o'clock on the 11th, is that correct? And AMC conference on the 13th. I'll be going down for my transportation committee. And also, I've got the Morrison Todd Wadena Health Board meeting in Staples at 3:30. Community Development at 12:15 on the 19th. Airport Commission meeting on the 21st at noon. And that's it.
All right, Commissioner Jelinski.
On the 12th at 12 o'clock, there's a Toward Zero Death meeting at Public Health. On the 13th, I guess we've talked about the legislative conference already. On the 14th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a Public Safety Communications Conference Planning phone conference at 1 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock on the 14th, there's a Trails meeting in the city of Randall. 15th, the 17th is Daytona, just for if anybody wants to know.
Nice.
On the 20th at 5 o'clock, Hands of Hope in Todd County. The 21st, there's an Armor meeting, Owners and Operators meeting in Alexandria. 7:30 that same evening, there's an Egg Society meeting, I think at the Legion in Little Falls. Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
Okay. Anyway, on the 19th at 5 o'clock, I have a Great River Regional Library meeting down in St. Cloud. On the 21st, I also have an annual Tri-County Community Action annual meeting. That's at the Great River Arts Center at 5 p.m. And then on 22nd, I have Soil and Water, and that's at 9 a.m. And that'll take care of mine. Anything else, gentlemen?
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Anybody want to check their calendar for February 25th? Are we scheduled to have a extension meeting in St. Cloud? Anybody know that, or do I just have that written down?
I don't have it on mine.
I don't know.
I don't have nothing either on that one, but that would be...
I have some kind of, I populated on my calendar here that invitation for Morrison County Extension Committee meeting, and it's in St. Cloud at 10 o'clock.
When did you get it? Did you get a...
Beats me.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just asking the
If
question.
you could double check for that, Tabitha, and let us know on that one.
Thank you.
Anything else, gentlemen? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 10.
For the record, tell Blaine we're
21.
about an hour and a half.